All right, language lovers, ready to dive into something fascinating. Today, we're exploring the world of German dialects.
Dialects.
You might be thinking, okay, dialects, but why should I care? Well, get ready for some aha moments because these variations are about way more than just a few funny pronunciations.
You got that right. What often gets overlooked is just how diverse Germany's linguistic landscape actually is.
Yeah, it's not just about mastering Hochdeutsch, the standard German we hear on the news or in textbooks.
Right, exactly. It's about imagine traveling through Germany and suddenly, bam, you're hit with variations so distinct they almost feel like entirely different languages.
So, help our listeners picture this. We know Germany has distinct regions, but how does that actually play out in the way people speak?
Okay, so think of it like a family tree. You've got High German, which includes Hochdeutsch, of course, but then it branches out into fascinating regional offshoots,
Oh, I like that. A family tree.
like Bavarian, for example,
Yeah, Bavarian.
known for its guttural sounds and unique grammar.
Oh, I love those guttural sounds.
And then there's Low German,
Okay. Low German.
historically spoken up north. And get this, it's actually closer to English and Dutch than you might think.
Whoa, hold on. Low German is closer to English.
Yeah?
That's news to me. Now I gotta know more about that connection. How deep does it go?
It's a fascinating link to the past. See, Low German, also known as Plattdeutsch, is part of the West Germanic branch,
Right.
right? Same family as English and Dutch.
Part of the Indo-European family?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Indo-European language family. They share common ancestors way back when, and you can see it in certain words, similarities in vocabulary and how the grammar is structured.
Oh, that's so
For
cool.
example, take the Low German word for house. It's Hus, much closer to the English house than the Hochdeutsch house.
Who's that's so interesting. So it's like you're peeking into the history of how these languages evolved and branched off from each other.
Exactly, yeah.
Makes you wonder what kind of words or phrases in Bavarian, for instance, just don't translate into standard German. I bet there are some real gems hidden in those dialects.
Absolutely. Dialects are full of those. They often preserve words and expressions that reflect unique cultural practices or ways of seeing the world that you wouldn't find elsewhere.
That makes sense.
For example, in Bavarian, you might come across the word Gaudi.
Gaudi.
It expresses this feeling of like boisterous fun and enjoyment that's hard to capture in a single English word.
Oh, Gaudi, I like that word already.
It's a very Bavarian thing.
So this is why I love these deep dives. You suddenly realize that language isn't just about communicating information, it's about capturing a whole cultural vibe.
You got it.
It makes you wonder, what happens when these dialects start to fade away? Is it just about losing a few quirky words, or is there something deeper at stake?
It's a big question, and it gets at the heart of why dialects matter. It's about identity. For many speakers, their dialect is deeply intertwined with their sense of belonging, their connection to their community, and their heritage.
It's more personal than just words on a page.
Right. Imagine growing up with your grandmother's sayings, local songs, even jokes, all infused with the unique flavor of your local dialect.
It becomes part of you, yeah.
It becomes more than just words. It's the fabric of your cultural identity.
And I bet those local expressions are often way more colorful and descriptive than anything you'd find in a textbook. It's like those dialects hold a special key to understanding the heart and soul of a place, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so, yeah. They offer a window into the history, traditions, and values of a community. Take Bavarian culture, for instance,
Bavarian culture, yeah.
known for its strong sense of community and tradition. Well, the Bavarian dialect plays a vital role in preserving and expressing those values. From traditional festivals and costumes to everyday conversations, the dialect is interwoven with every aspect of Bavarian life.
But what happens when everyone's pressured to speak Hochdeutsch, especially in bigger cities?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Does that risk flattening out those unique cultural landscapes? Is there a worry that Germany might become linguistically homogenized?
That's a valid concern. As Standard German becomes more dominant, especially in urban areas and the media, there's a natural tendency for dialects to lose some of their distinct features.
It's like everything starts to sound the same.
Exactly. Some linguists worry that this could lead to a decline in linguistic diversity and a loss of those unique cultural perspectives embedded in dialects.
It's like the classic tension between globalization and preserving local traditions.
Right.
We see it everywhere, not just with language. But here's a curveball I've been wondering about. Could technology actually be helping dialects in some ways? I mean, think about it. People can connect online with others who speak their dialect no matter where they live.
That's a fascinating point. And you're right, the internet and social media have become platforms for celebrating and sharing dialect-specific content.
It's like opening up new channels of communication.
You see YouTube channels dedicated to Bavarian humor, Facebook groups where people discuss Low German literature, even dating apps that help connect speakers of specific dialects.
Wow, dating
Yeah.
apps. So instead of just grandma's kitchen table, now it's like the whole digital world is becoming a place where dialects can thrive. It's almost like a linguistic counter-movement to globalization,
Yeah.
where people are actively choosing to connect with their roots and express their regional identities online.
Precisely. And it's not just online. We're also seeing a resurgence of interest in local radio and television programs that feature dialects.
Hmm.
It's a testament to the fact that these linguistic varieties are more than just relics of the past.
Yeah.
They're living expressions of identity and culture that continue to resonate with people today.
Okay, but let's be clear, we're not just talking about minor pronunciation differences here, right?
No, no, not at all.
Germany also has some full-blown regional languages that go way beyond just dialect variations. What's the story with those?
You're absolutely right. Languages like Frisian, spoken in northern Germany, and Sorbian, spoken in eastern Germany, have their own distinct grammar, vocabulary, and cultural traditions. They're recognized as minority languages with a rich history and a unique place in the German linguistic landscape.
So, like, completely separate languages.
In essence,
And
yes.
here's a mind-blowing fact for you, listener. Frisian is actually considered one of the closest living relatives to English.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's like a linguistic time capsule, giving us a glimpse into the shared ancestry of these two languages. It's amazing how seemingly different languages can be so closely intertwined.
It really highlights the complexities of language evolution. Frisian, English, and German all belong to the West Germanic branch of the Indo-European language family, tracing their roots back to a common ancestor spoken thousands of years ago. Exploring these connections helps us understand not only the history of German dialects, but also the broader story of how languages have spread and diversified across the globe.
All right, so we've got these regional languages, each with its own unique story to tell. But let's be honest, they're facing some serious challenges in a world where languages like English and German dominate. What are some of the hurdles they're up against?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is simply maintaining a sufficient number of speakers. When a language isn't widely used in education, government, or the media, it becomes harder for younger generations to learn and use it in everyday life.
It's like if you grow up surrounded by a dominant language, it can be tough to hold on to your regional tongue, especially when it's not seen as useful or modern. So, are there any success stories out there? Any examples of communities actively fighting to keep these languages alive?
Absolutely. There are inspiring examples of communities working hard to revitalize and preserve their regional languages.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Sorbian, for instance, is officially recognized as a minority language in Germany and enjoys certain protections, such as bilingual signage and support for Sorbian language schools and media.
Oh, wow. So they're really taking steps to protect it.
Yes, it shows that with dedicated effort and government support, it's possible to create a space for these languages to flourish.
It's encouraging to hear that there are success stories out there, but it also begs the question, why should we care about preserving these smaller languages in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Isn't it just more efficient for everyone to speak a few major languages? What's lost when a language fades away?
It's about more than just efficiency. It's about recognizing that linguistic diversity has inherent value.
Okay, I'm missing.
Each language, each dialect, embodies a unique way of seeing and interacting with the world. When a language disappears, we lose not just words, but a whole cultural universe.
Like a way of thinking that's gone.
A way of thinking, a way of expressing that's been passed down through generations. It's lost.
So it's like losing a whole library of knowledge and experience that's been built up over centuries. Those unique perspectives, those cultural nuances, they all contribute to the richness and complexity of human experience.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you were to travel to a remote village and encounter a language you'd never heard before, wouldn't you be fascinated?
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't you want to learn more about the people who speak it, their stories, their traditions, their way of life? That's the kind of richness we risk losing when languages disappear.
It's like losing a piece of the puzzle of human history and culture. And the more pieces we lose, the less clear the overall picture becomes. But let's get practical for a moment. What can we actually do to support these efforts?
Well, there are many ways to contribute, even if you don't speak a regional language yourself. You can support organizations that promote language revitalization, attend cultural events that celebrate linguistic diversity, even simply being aware of the challenges faced by minority languages. All of these actions can make a difference.
It's like voting with your attention and your support.
Exactly.
By choosing to engage with these languages and cultures, we send a message that we value their existence and want to see them thrive. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I think it's time to explore the philosophical implications of this whole language discussion. If language shapes how we see the world, what happens when we lose those unique perspectives?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
What knowledge, what wisdom, what ways of being are we losing when a language fades away?
Those are profound questions, and they lead us into a realm of thought that goes beyond linguistics and delves into the very essence of what it means to be human.
All right, fellow deep divers, we're in the final stretch of our exploration into German dialects. We've covered a lot of ground from those surprising connections to English, the way these variations shape cultural identity, and even how technology plays a role in their survival. But now, let's step back for a second.
Okay.
We've said losing a language is about more than just words, but can you really say it impacts how people see the world?
Absolutely. It's not just about communication, it's a framework for how we think. The words we use, the grammar, even the metaphors and idioms, it all shapes how we perceive reality.
So each language has its own unique lens. And if we lose those lenses, we lose those unique perspectives. But give us some concrete examples. How does this play out in real life?
Take, for instance, how different languages express time. Some, like English, view time as linear, past, present, future. But other languages might perceive it as cyclical or emphasize the present moment over a fixed timeline.
So that changes how you think about planning or making decisions.
Absolutely. These linguistic differences impact how speakers plan for the future, make decisions, even experience the flow of events.
So someone speaking a language focused on the present might be more like live in the now, while someone whose language emphasizes the future is all about planning ahead.
Precisely. Language subtly shapes our values and priorities without us even realizing it.
Wow, that's deep.
And that's just one example. Think how differently languages express emotions, describe relationships, or conceptualize abstract ideas. These variations can lead to vastly different understandings of the world.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. What kind of wisdom might be embedded in those languages struggling to survive? What ways of seeing the world are we losing if we don't try to understand and preserve them?
It's humbling to think about. Each language is a vast repository of knowledge, experience, and understanding, built up over centuries. When it fades, we lose access to those unique perspectives.
It's like tragically letting a whole library burn down filled with books we haven't even opened yet. But let's not get too doom and gloom. We've also talked about the exciting ways technology is helping revitalize languages and connect speakers. Do you think there's reason to be optimistic?
Definitely. There's a growing awareness of how important this is. Governments and grassroots organizations are more committed to language preservation. And, as we've said, technology is key. It's providing tools for documentation, education, and community building.
So we're at a point where we can choose to let languages fade or actively work to preserve them.
That's right. And that choice ultimately rests with each of us.
So listener, as you go about your day, really take a moment to appreciate the amazing variety of languages around you. Pay attention to those little dialect nuances, the rhythms of different tongues, the way people express themselves. It's a reminder that the world is vast, fascinating, full of different ways of being.
I agree.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to learn a new language yourself and discover a whole new perspective.
And remember, preserving linguistic diversity isn't just about protecting languages, it's about safeguarding the richness and complexity of human culture for everyone.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring this intricate world of German dialects and that you're leaving with a new appreciation for language's power and beauty. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep listening to the many voices that make our world so vibrant.
Thank you for listening. If this topic piqued your interest, you can contact me via my website for German classes on all levels, in person in Dubai or online worldwide.